Have you ever felt like you're adrift in an ocean of emotions, getting pulled under by the powerful waves of negative thoughts? Have you ever felt lost in a foggy forest, where doubts and worries surround you, making it impossible to find your way back to peace? If the answer is yes, you are not alone. Most of us have experienced those feelings. We get pulled into a silent battle by negative thoughts, a battle without gunfire that still causes deep wounds. But what if I told you that there is a path, an ancient philosophy that has helped the greatest people overcome the storms in their minds? Thousands of years ago, Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca discovered an eternal truth. They didn't try to fight the storm, they sought to master their own ship. They found that we don't have to be victims of our thoughts, but can become their guide. In this video, we will explore 7 Stoic principles that help you break the negative cycle, master your mind, and live a fulfilling life. Stay with me until the end, because this will be the path to dissolve negative thoughts, turning them from obstacles into opportunities for growth. Let's begin with the first lesson, the key to mastering your thoughts. Principle 1. Observe your thoughts. Escape negativity. The battle in our minds begins when we mistake our thoughts for the truth. Stoic philosophers pointed to a fundamental principle. What disturbs us is not what happens to us, but our thoughts about what happens. This is a crucial distinction. When you have the thought, "I'm going to fail," you immediately feel anxious, insecure, and as if the whole world is against you. The famous philosopher Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and you have the power to revoke that estimate at will." What he meant was that we must become observers of our thoughts instead of being controlled by them. Try to imagine your mind as a vast, serene sky. Your thoughts are like clouds. The clouds might be dark and gloomy, but they are not the sky. They come and go like the wind. They cannot harm or change the sky's nature. Observing means you detach yourself from that thought. You are not a failure, but a person having a thought about being a failure. By doing this, you create a distance, and in that distance lies infinite power. When you observe, you will no longer automatically react to every negative thought. Instead, you'll recognize them as just stories that your mind creates. So, how do you practice this lesson? When a negative thought appears, don't try to fight it. Don't try to push it away, because that will only make it stronger. Instead, look at it like an audience member. It's like you're sitting on a bench watching a train go by. The train might be loud and filled with worries and disappointments. But you don't have to get on the train. Your job is simply to sit, watch it pass, and disappear over the horizon. Try to do this whenever a negative thought appears. Identify it. This is just a thought, and let it go. Let it pass. With just that simple action, you've shifted from the role of a victim controlled by thoughts to the role of a master, an observer of the game. And that is the first step to escaping negativity. Principle 2. Examine your thoughts. Think before you act. After you learn to observe and detach yourself from the flow of your thoughts, the next step is to examine them. Because not every thought that pops into your head is the truth. The Stoics understood this very well. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you that upsets you, it's how you interpret what happens." In other words, our rushed conclusions are the root of our suffering. Think about one day. You walk into the office, say hello to a colleague, but they just walk past without responding. Immediately you think, "They're ignoring me. What did I do wrong?" And then you carry that heavy feeling with you all day. But the truth might be different. They might have been preoccupied with something, or simply didn't hear you. The problem isn't the event, but the story you attach to it. And when you believe that story, you act based on something that hasn't been verified. The Stoics taught us to pause before acting. Put your thoughts on a scale. Question them, like a judge listening to evidence before making a ruling. Ask yourself, is this really true? Is there any proof? Could there be another reason? When you practice this habit, many negative thoughts will disappear on their own. Marcus Aurelius often used journaling to examine his own mind. You can also practice this by journaling. Every time an obsessive thought appears, write it down and then write at least 2 other ways of looking at the same situation. By doing so, you remind yourself that thoughts are only hypotheses, not final judgments. And when you create that pause, you give yourself the power to choose, to act with clarity instead of reacting rashly. When you do this, you will realize that most of your negative thoughts are just baseless assumptions, stories that your mind makes up. And when you expose them, they will no longer have the power to control you. Principle 3. Accept reality. Love even what hurts you. There are moments in life we can't control. A project that falls apart despite our best efforts, a relationship that ends while we're still in love, or a sudden event that takes away what we cherish most. The first human reaction is often to complain, "Why me? Why is my life so hard?" But the Stoics chose a different path. Amor Fati, love of fate. It's not just about accepting what has happened, but embracing it as an essential part of life. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, "Love the fate that the universe gives you. It is the only good thing that can happen." Epictetus also said, "Do not seek to have events happen as you want them to, but instead, want them to happen as they do happen, and your life will go well." For them, true freedom isn't about changing the circumstances, but about how we embrace them. Think of a wave in the ocean. The more you struggle and resist it, the more exhausted you become. Adversity, failure, and pain are all like these waves. You can't command them to stop, but you can choose to ride them. So, how can you practice Amor Fati in modern life? Start with small things. When it rains right after you've planned a walk, instead of getting angry, enjoy the feeling of sitting on the porch, listening to the rain fall. When a job falls through, instead of getting upset, ask yourself, what lesson can I learn from this? And with bigger losses, remember, none of us were promised a smooth life. It is adversity that makes our inner strength emerge. When you do this, you will no longer be a victim of circumstances, but their master. You will shift your energy from fighting what has happened to acting to create your future. And that is how you turn pain into an opportunity for growth. Principle 4. Anticipate the worst. Prepare to never be surprised. If the first lesson helps you master your mind, the second helps you master your thoughts, and the third helps you master the present. This fourth lesson will help you master the future. Many people think Stoicism is pessimistic. In reality, it's about preparation. The Stoics had a tool called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. This isn't about worrying that bad things will happen. Instead, it's about taking a few minutes each day to imagine those bad things. When we think about the future, our fear often comes from vagueness and surprise. We fear what we can't foresee. But when you've mentally prepared and visualized the worst-case scenarios, they no longer have the power to make you panic. For example, you're preparing for a major project and you're afraid of failing. Instead of letting that fear control you, sit down and clearly visualize that failure. If this project fails, what will I lose? What can I learn? Where can I start over? When you do this, You're no longer afraid of failure. You've faced it directly and seen that it's not an insurmountable monster. And a miraculous thing will happen. When something bad actually comes, you won't panic. You'll say, "Ah, I was prepared for this. I'll get to work on solving it." Principle 5. The power of gratitude. A shield against scarcity. If the previous lessons help us combat our internal enemies, this 5th lesson equips us with a sturdy shield. Gratitude. In his book, Meditations, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Always think about the things you have that you would crave if you did not have them." Our minds have a natural tendency to focus on what's missing. A better job, a more perfect relationship, or a life with fewer difficulties. This feeling of scarcity is fertile ground for negative thoughts to grow. But gratitude pulls you back to reality. When you focus on what you have, the anxiety about what you lack will gradually fade away. Stoics have an interesting practice called negative visualization. Imagine if tomorrow you no longer had something you have today, a loved one, a job, or even the ability to walk. This thought might make you shudder, but at the same time, it can awaken you. Because immediately, you see that your present, with all its simplest blessings, is already an invaluable gift. These small things, when viewed with gratitude, become priceless gifts. And when you can feel a sense of abundance from the most minor things, you'll build a solid shield against all negative thoughts. Gratitude isn't a random emotion. It's a deliberate choice. When you choose gratitude, you are choosing strength. Principle 6. Recharge your mind. Restore your energy. There's a truth few people are willing to admit. Sometimes we're not negative because we're weak, but simply because we're exhausted. When the body is tired, the mind becomes fragile, easily drawn into spirals of pessimism. The Stoics understood that an unrested mind cannot be clear. Seneca once said, "Sometimes even a wise man needs rest." It's not laziness, it's part of the art of living. No matter how smart a phone is, if its battery dies, it's just a useless piece of metal. The human mind is the same. No matter how many philosophies or principles you equip yourself with, if you consistently stay up late and work to the point of exhaustion, your brain will eventually have room for nothing but frustration and pessimism. You'll mistakenly think you're weak when in reality you just need to recharge your battery. Practicing this isn't hard. Set aside some unplugged time for yourself. A good night's sleep, a slow walk in nature, a digital Sabbath, where you turn off your phone to give your mind a break. Tidy up your living space, because your surroundings directly affect your mental energy. And don't forget, sometimes rest is a courageous act, daring to pause and regenerate instead of trying to push forward in a state of weariness. The Stoics never saw rest as an escape. They viewed it as a way to prepare to return stronger. Just as a warrior knows to retreat temporarily to recover, you also need to give your mind a chance to recuperate. Because when your energy is restored, you'll realize that negativity isn't your nature. It's just a product of an exhausted mind. Principle 7. Courage. The antidote to negativity. If you've practiced the first 6 principles, you have a solid map and a compass. But to truly walk that path, you need one last thing: courage. Many people mistakenly believe that Stoicism is just about being calm. But they forget that this tranquility is built on a foundation of courage. Courage doesn't mean having no fear. Courage is acting despite fear. Epictetus once said, "What is important is not what you know, but what you do." Courage is the bridge between theory and action. If you just stop at observing and examining your thoughts, you'll remain stagnant. You must be brave enough to face what you fear, because that's the only way you'll grow. For example, you're afraid of failing a project. You've examined the thought and know it's baseless. You've also accepted the worst-case scenario. But if you don't act, if you don't start, that fear will still control you. Courage is starting to do the work even when your hands are still shaking. When you bravely do this, you'll realize something miraculous. Your strength doesn't come from being able to predict the future, but from your ability to deal with it. And that courageous action is the most powerful antidote to negativity. We've now gone through 7 lessons together, from mastering your mind to having the courage to act. This is not a temporary fix, but a daily practice. Just like a martial artist, you don't train just once, but for a lifetime. Marcus Aurelius wrote every day to train his mind, and you can do the same. I believe that with these 7 lessons, you have all the tools you need to begin the journey of mastering your mind. It's a long road, but every step is worthwhile. If you found any part of this video valuable, please hit the like button to spread this message to more people. Share this video with a friend who is stuck in a negative cycle, and comment on your favorite principle. And finally, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next lessons.